So ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, my fellow panelists, it's going to be an interesting panel discussion. Accelerating startups. We got two fascinating young entrepreneurs representing GridBots and Dhruva Space. We have Dr. Prabhat Ranjan from TIFAC. He's going to be talking about what kind of visions and budgets, funding that the Indian government has considered, is coming out with different proposals and so forth. And most importantly, Mr. David Kinnan, I want his perspectives on, as we all know, Israel, a startup nation. How many of you have read that book, Israel, a Startup Nation? Beautiful book. It talks about the history of the last 60 years of Israel, how they have been able to make this small nation a startup capital of the world, probably right after Silicon Valley, right? So I want David's perspectives on how, what kind of policies, what kind of situations have made this possible? How can we recreate that in India, right? And number two is he has also been an investor. He has worn the investor's shoes, staying in India, working for Intel Capital, right? I want his perspectives on how he treats these two startups as well. So hopefully this is going to be a pretty interesting discussion. The format I would like to follow is I would give the stage to these two young entrepreneurs to talk about their startup, what are the trials, tribulations they have faced, and the most importantly, these guys have bootstrapped their startups, okay? They haven't taken any funding. Number two is I want Professor Prabhat Ranjan to kind of talk about two aspects. He has been in US, he has been with Lawrence Berkeley Labs in the 80s. And as we know, many of us who have gone to US, we have been with the DARPA and the NSF funds. How does that work? How do we create that kind of a National Science Foundation grant, DARPA-like grant, focusing on early stage innovation, right? And David Kinnan, I'd probably request him to more look from a Israeli standpoint and a startup standpoint. So the format would be, I'd request each one of them to give a bit perspective of what they do, what their companies do, and take a couple of sentences, make a couple of sentences about their vision, their thought process about accelerating startups in this domain, in the strategic electronics domain, right? Then we will have a few very specific questions for the gentleman, and I'll open it up next for questions from the audience. Okay? Thank you.